man.
Yes.
This is nothing more than man-made documents. And which man-made documents? The story of Moses by Moses. He wrote his own story, did he not?
Yes, he did.
The first 5 books of Moses. The story of Moses going to the burning bush.
Yes.
That we know is written in 1400 BC.
Yes.
Written by man,
Yes.
not by God.
Yes.
Inspired by God, but written by man.
Yes.
We know who wrote it.
Yes,
We know when it was written.
Yeah.
It finds its way into the Quran,
Yeah.
borrowed into the Quran.
Yeah.
And look and see what these folios say. They say over and over again that Allah is God. Allah is God. Where does Allah come from?
His name comes from 2nd century. One of the Nabatean gods.
It's a Nabatean God.
Yeah.
It's a pagan God.
Yeah.
It's a God who has a wife named Alat and Al-Uzza
Yeah. And he has a daughter.
and a daughter named Al-Manat.
Yeah.
So therefore this Allah cannot be one if he has a daughter and a wife.
Yeah.
It's a polytheistic God.
Yes.
And yet there you find it in Surah 18 and in Surah 19.
Yes.
And it says in it over and over again in these folios that you're to worship Allah and His Prophet. And His Prophet. Why doesn't it name the Prophet?
This is all the name of the prophet.
Evidently,
Muhammad wasn't existing.
Muhammad still was not known that early.
Yeah.
It looks like Muhammad was not known when these folios were written.
Yeah.
Because it does name Moses, does it not?
It does name the Moses.
It does name the 7 sleepers, does it not?
It does.
It does name Allah and gives him a name, does it not?
It does.
But it doesn't name the Prophet.
Yeah.
Isn't that curious?
Oh, well, he wasn't known by then.
It looks like when these folios were written in 606, 4 years before Muhammad even started receiving revelation, Muhammad was not known then.
Yeah.
This does not come even from any man. So where do these stories come from?
Today we can trace back and we can look in the 2nd century, 3rd century, 4th century and see where those sources are, where those stories come from.
They are sectarian writings.
Yes.
They are Jewish apocryphal writings.
Yes.
Look at the Quran that we have today. Surah 5, Ayah 31. The story of Cain and Abel. That comes from the Targum of Jonathan ben Uzziah.
Okay.
Jonathan ben Uzziah was an apocryphal account written in the 2nd century, right?
Yeah.
Therefore it's written by a man
It was written
named
by a
Jonathan ben Uzziah,
Yeah.
a Jew.
Yeah.
He wasn't writing this as scripture, was he?
No, he wasn't.
He was very clear not to write this as scripture.
Yeah.
The very next verse 32, the story of the blood of Abel.
Yeah.
He who takes the blood of one takes the blood of all, but he who saves the blood of one saves the blood of all. That is from the Bar Sanhedrin, written in the 5th century. Another Jewish apocryphal account.
Yeah. So
Yet it finds itself into the Quran. So it looks like whoever was writing the Quran was borrowing these stories.
yes.
The story of Abraham. That's a good story. In Surah 21, Ayah 51 to 71, says that Abraham was living where the Prophet lived. Now, most Muslims think that's Mecca and that the Kaaba is there.
Yeah.
But why doesn't it give it a name? Why doesn't it say what city he is in?
Because he never been to Kaaba, he never been to Mecca.
Because there was no Mecca, was there?
No.
There was no Mecca at the time of Abraham. Was there a Mecca at the time of Muhammad?
No, it wasn't.
Can you find any documentation for the city of Mecca at all in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, or 7th century?
No.
So when is the first documentation for the city of Mecca that we know in the world?
9th century.
741.
Okay.
741 is the mid-8th century. When did Muhammad die again?
632.
So how many years between the time Muhammad died and the first reference we have for Mecca?
109.
That's your mathematician standing next to you. Thank you, sir,
you.
for your mathematic ability. 109 9 years before they even realize that there's a city called Mecca.
Yes.
Ooh, this is getting bad, isn't it?
So maybe that was the reason why Quran forgot to mention it.
But hold on a minute. This is the classical account.
Yeah.
This is the account every Muslim knows, is it not?
It does.
This is the account every Muslim has always believed, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Bukhari, volume 6. Not here. Volume 6, 509 and 510.
Yes.
So volume 6, 509 and 510 says very clearly that it was Uthman in 650 that had Zayd ibn Thabit, Zubair, Alas, and Harith rewrite the Quran.
Yes.
Rewrite the Quran.
Yeah, that takes place in 650.
That takes place in 650.
Yeah.
And then what does Bukhari say Uthman does?
He burned all the manuscripts, all the written things.
He took all the other manuscripts,
Yeah.
put them together, and he burned them.
Yes.
And then what did he do next?
He made 4 copies and then he sent that 4 copies to the regions where Muslims were in control.
He took 4 copies
Yeah.
of the final one
Yeah.
and sent them to 4 different cities.
Yes.
Basra, Baghdad, Damascus, and Medina.
Yeah.
Actually, it says to every province of that time. So it could be more than 4 copies.
Yes, it can be more than 4.
But most Muslims believe it is just 4 copies, right?
Yeah.
Can this be one of those 4 copies?
No.
Absolutely not. Why? Because the date for this is when?
Middle date is 606.
606.
So this is
The latest date is 646. When did Uthman have him do this? 650.
Yeah.
So this is too early.
Yeah.
So this cannot be one of those 4 copies.
Yes, it cannot be.
Ooh, do. Can you now see, Muslims, why we're asking you this question? So hold on, Manhattan. That means this is in doubt.
It is, if that's a manuscript.
When was that written?
The glory of Zion, Nabi of
When was
Qadar,
this
Zion
written?
60. Who's Nabi of Qadar?
870.
Yeah.
Who's Qadar?
What is that? That's the late 9th century.
The glory of
How
Zion
many years after the death of Muhammad did Al-Bukhari write down the story of the Quran?
Zion 62.
240. 240 years this is written down. 240 years too late, right?
It is too late.
Absolutely too late.
Yeah.
We've got the wrong story. And every Muslim has been reading the wrong story.
Yeah.
But hold on a minute. It's 240 years too late. No wonder they have the wrong story. Bukhari knew nothing about these manuscripts. He knew nothing about these folios.
Yeah.
And it's not just these folios. It's the folios that have been dated in Tübingen in Germany that are dated now from before the time of Uthman. The folios that have been dated in Lyon that are dated to 516 and 593. The folios that are now dated in Arizona. So that's 4 laboratories in Arizona, Lyon, Oxford University, and Tübingen University. 4 laboratories all dating these folios from before the time of Uthman.
You Arab Christians.
So what are we going to do with Al-Bukhari?
They should be following you.
We're going to have to throw away Al-Bukhari, aren't we? We're going to have to throw away everything Al-Bukhari has been telling us about the Quran, about Muhammad, about how Islam began. We are going to have to throw it away and start from scratch.
Yes.
We're going to have to admit finally that this book, the Quran, right here, this book, the Quran, did not come from God, did it not?
No, it didn't.
It could not have come from God.
No.
This book, the Quran, came from man,
Yeah.
but not one man named Muhammad. Muhammad had nothing to do with the Quran.
Yeah.
Now we're using the dates.
Yeah.
And the dates are just now coming out this year, are they not?
Yes.
In 2015, we are finally getting the dates on the earliest folios of what Muslims believe is their Quran. Folks, this is not the Quran. This predates the Quran. Every one of these folios predates the Quran and even predates Muhammad.
Yeah.
This is the Birmingham one we're showing you here. And the Birmingham one is dated from 568 to 745. 568 to 645, excuse me.
Yeah.
645. Uthman only created the Quran only wrote the Quran in 650. These all predate Uthman. And the median date is 606. 606 for this folio, which means it's even before Muhammad.
Yep.
Well, here's the $1,000,000 question. So when was the Quran finally written down?
Historical account or Turkish?
Let's go to the other manuscript, should we?
Yeah.
Could you come here a minute? Most Muslims believe that that's the final copy.
Yep.
This is the Uthmanic copy, right? They say that all the time.
Yep.
Yet Hatun, when was this copy finally written down? What are the dates for this copy?
Mid-8th century.
749. 749. When did Muhammad die?
632.
And when did Uthman supposedly write the Quran? 650.
Yeah.
How many years after Uthman was this written down?
100 years.
Let's say 100. Let's be even it off to 100 years.
100 years.
An entire century later, the Topkapi Quran was finally written. It's from Turkey.
Yes.
It's in Istanbul.
Yes, but only 78% of this Quran is readable. And only 98%.
So it's not complete.
No, it's not complete.
It is not a complete Quran.
No, it is not.
And it has how many manuscript variants?
2,270 manuscripts.
2,270 manuscript variants. That means words and phrases that are different in this Quran from the Quran we have today.
Yes.
So it's not the same Quran.
No, it's not
It's
the same.
not the complete Quran.
No.
It doesn't agree with the Quran we have today.
No.
So this cannot be the first Quran.
No, it cannot be.
It's pretty close, 78%. But it's 100 years after Uthman.
78% is only readable.
100 years.
How do you know it's not the same? How do you know it's not the same?
Because two Muslim scholars, Dr. Tayrat Kulic and Dr. Ekmeleddin Ihsanoğlu from Turkey, who have responsibility for that manuscript, spent 5 years going through the whole thing, and they filmed it. You can go online and get it now. You can look at it. It only includes 78% of the Quran. It is open knowledge now.
78% means it's missing. The rest is missing. It doesn't mean it's not.
The rest is missing, yes.
Missing is okay. So it's
No, it's not complete.
It's not complete. But even the 78% that is complete, there are 2,270 words or phrases that don't parallel the Quran we have today. So it's not the same Quran. How about this one? This is the Samarkand manuscript. This is the one Muslims have always said is complete. Unchanged from the time of Uthman. It's in Tashkent, in Uzbekistan. Is this one complete?
No, it's not.
How many surahs does it have?
It has only 43 surahs.
Only 43 surahs. How many surahs are there in the Quran?
140?
114. It only goes up to surah 43.
Yeah.
Much of the Quran is missing.
Yeah.
And the 43 surahs are their manuscript variants.
Yes, there are.
There are many manuscript variants. There are corrections. There are grammatical errors.
Yeah.
In fact, Dr. Tahir Atakulic says it is an embarrassment. Don't ever use it again. It is obviously written by people who didn't know Arabic very well.
Yes.
Throw away the Samarkand manuscript.
Yeah.
Number 2.
Yeah.
How about this manuscript? Here's the Husayni manuscript. The Husayni manuscript is in Egypt.
Yeah.
This is the one that many Muslims have believed
Yeah.
is also complete from the time of Uthman and unchanged.
Yeah.
Take a look at it. You notice it's different than the other manuscripts.
It is.
It is a monumental text. Why? Because of the size.
We have all this.
This one's in Egypt.
The one that was
That one is in Tashkent.
all the same.
And not one of them's the same.
Only there is
Not one of them is the same.
only one Quran.
I love
You
that.
can say anything you want. It's only one Quran we have.
I know, you can say,
Go anywhere in
he's
the
going to
world,
say
it's
until
only
he
one
goes
Quran.
blue in the face.
Yes.
We're showing you not what I'm saying, we're showing you what the Muslim scholars have now found.
Only one Quran.
So how many, when was
How
this
they write it?
written?
How they pronounce it?
9th century. This says 200 years later. Is it complete? No, it's not. Does it have manuscript variants? Absolutely.
Yep.
And the thing is, we have yet to look at all the manuscript variants of this one. What about the one here in the British Library? The 2165 manuscript. This is the Ma'il manuscript.
Birmingham?
You can take a picture of all of them. This is the Ma'il manuscript.
Birmingham?
This one's here in the British Library.
Yeah.
This one only goes up to Surah 43. Am I right, Hatun?
Yes, that's correct.
It also, like the Samarkand manuscript, it is not complete. Does it have manuscript variants? Yes, it does. What's the date for this one? This one has been dated to 790.
So that's
790 is late 8th century. It is 100 to 150 years after Uthman.
Yeah.
After Muhammad, and about 130 years after Uthman.
Yeah.
So throw that one out. You can't use that one anymore.
Yeah.
What about this one? The Petropolitanist one. This one is interesting because the Birmingham manuscript, the Birmingham folios come from this manuscript. This is the manuscript where the two folios come from. It's called the 328A manuscript. It is in the Bibliothèque Nationale in Paris, in France. Dr. François Doroche is the man who's done the study on it. And how much of the Quran does this include? 26%. Only 26% of the Quran is included. And what's the date for this? Early 8th century. And even the 26% is full of variants. It's not the same Quran. Throw that one out.
That's not good, are you sure?
Every manuscript that we're looking at, and here comes the last one, the greatest one, probably the best manuscript.
Sana manuscript.
The Sana manuscript. The Sana manuscript in Yemen, discovered in 1975. It was finally looked at by the experts in 1981. They only were able to publish their findings in 1997. And what have they found now? Folks, just look, I went to see the authors in Germany who actually filmed every page of this manuscript. You can see it's an early script. It uses the Hijazi script. Here you can see, that's chapter 19. And then after this yellow mark, it jumps to chapter 22. What happened to 20 and 21?
It wasn't
Are
there.
you sure this is very damaging, Jerry? Are you sure?
Don't worry, it gets worse. Hold on a minute. There's 19, that's 22. So what happened to chapter 20?
And 20.
Here it comes on the other page, in a completely different script. That is a Hijazi script. Over here is an Abbasid script. There's about 60 to 70 years between these two pages. That is dated to 705. That is dated to the late 8th century. The Kufic script, the Abbasids only came into power in 749. They introduced their own script. Surah 20 and Surah 21 were added, looks like, a good 50 to 60 years later, just from this manuscript. Now, look at those yellow marks. See those orange marks? Every time you see an orange mark, that is a manuscript variant. That means a word in this manuscript that's different from the Quran we have today. Can you see why the Muslims now are angry?
So
I would be angry. Why is it that we have been told that the Quran is complete and unchanged from the time of Uthman? Not one of these manuscripts is from the time of Uthman. This is dated to 50 to 60, in fact, between the two pages, to 100 years after Muhammad. 100 years after Uthman. Proving, folks, that the Quran was still not complete 100 years after Uthman. We just looked at that. You got here too late. This is the same. We already looked at the Birmingham. That written in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Two German scholars.
Written by who?
Jonathan Ben Uzziah wrote Surah 5, Ayah 31. Bar Sinred, you'll find Surah 5, Ayah 32. The Mishnah of Rabbah is Surah 21, Ayah 51 to 71. The Surah, the Talmud of Esther, the 2nd Talmud of Esther, is Surah 27, Ayah 14 to 47. I'm sorry, 17 to 44. We could go on again all day. We know that about 70% of the Quran is borrowed from other sources. We know who wrote it. We know when it was written, we know why it was written, and we know the dates they were written.
So whoever wrote it, why would he write about Muhammad before Muhammad?
Muhammad's name's not in it! Muhammad's name's not in any of this!
4 times only mentioned in the Quran.
You cannot find Muhammad's name in the Quran except for 4 times. Always! It talks about the Prophet, the Messenger. messenger, the prophet. Why doesn't it mention that this prophet is Muhammad? Look at your Quran and look at the Arabic and see if you can find Muhammad's name there. Yeah, you can find Jesus' name, Isa, 93 times in the Quran. You can find Moses' name all through the Quran. So why can they not find Muhammad's name? Let's go on. So here we go. They did a study for 10 years. For 10 years they did this study. And it just came out last year. And they looked at the 10 earliest manuscripts. The 10 earliest don't argue, because that's going to be recorded. The 10 earliest manuscripts that we found now for the Quran. And the man that did it, Hatun, what's his name? Dr. Dan Brubaker. And what did Dan Brubaker say? La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. I can dance to that. But folks, we're going to get to Jesus next. Jesus is the one we do want to talk about. But before we do that, let's go back to this. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. La ilaha illallah. Jesus! Wait till you hear about Jesus. We don't have this problem with Jesus, do we?
No, we don't.
We don't have any problems with his manuscript, do we? We don't make the claims that the Muslims make about their manuscript.
No, we don't.
And we know that who Jesus is, don't we? We know when he lived, do we not?
Yes, we do.
And we know when he died, do we not?
Yes, we know.
And we know when he rose again, do we not?
Yes, we do.
No one doubts that, do they?
No,
Now let's go back to these manuscripts. Here is what they found. Dr. Dan Brubaker, he noticed that there were tapings.
Yeah.
But when he looked at the backside, there was no reason for the tapings. Nothing had been damaged. Which means that they are taping over words and phrases. That's the first problem.
That's not good.
Then he noticed that there were insertions in every one of the texts.
What manuscript?
There were insertions. This is the Top copy. This is the Samarkand. This is the Ma'il. This is the Petropolitanus. This is the Sana manuscript. And this is also the Samarkand manuscript. Plus 4 others that came after. So these are the 10 earliest manuscripts. He found hundreds upon hundreds of insertions. Words that were put above the line. Words that were put within the line. Added words that shouldn't be there. But hold on a minute. We'll see why they're there. He found hundreds upon hundreds of erasers where they erased words, letters, complete phrases in some cases. Sometimes they have erasers where they wrote over top. You can see where they've erased it and written a whole other line over top. Over and over and over again. They erased it and then they wrote another word. Hundreds of erasers. Then sometimes they wrote without erasing. They just wrote over top. So you can see both the lower script and the upper script. You can read both scripts. They didn't even bother to erase it. They were in a hurry. Yet these are the oldest manuscripts in existence. And then they found, curiously, many coverings. Where you have a covering, a covering, a covering, a covering, a covering, a covering, covering after covering.
And I was able to.
Why would you cover up words?
There are many websites that represent this.
Absolutely. You're trying to hide something, aren't you?
I was able to.
They were covering it because they were hiding something. They found hundreds of these coverings.
It's not looking at the.
Now here we go. Many times they covered and then they were wrote over top. Here's an entire line that's been covered up and one letter has been written. The kaf is written over top of it. Here you can see where they've covered and written over top. Where they've covered and written over top. Where they've covered and written over top. Why would you cover and write over top?
You did not look at it.
It's very damaging today. Because you want to hide the things.
They have to go pray. Can you see why they have to go pray? They better pray. Because it looks like what we're showing is they're praying to no God whatsoever. And it's not the God of the Quran. And then they found multiples, where they found coverings, tapings, where they found erasers and insertions on the same page. Now, how many of these do you think they found? Dan Brubaker found?
800?
Over 800. Over 800 of these, Hatun. Hatun, help me here. So if you have insertions,
I don't think anyone can help us right now, Jay.
I want you to help me. Unpack this for me. Oh, thank you. What does that mean? If you have insertions, if you have erasers, if you have coverings, if you have tapings, what does that say to you?
The Quran has been corrupted.
It is corrupted.
Not the Bible. The Quran has been corrupted.
Okay, it gets even worse than that. When Dan Brubaker, when he looked at these coverings and these corruptions, he noticed that every time there was a change, every time they added a new word, they were standardizing the text. They were bringing the text back to one unified standard form.
So it is made intentionally.
It is done intentionally. They are canonizing the text. And guess how long these corrections take? Guess how many years these corrections continue?
Couple of decades.
Try more than that.
Couple of centuries.
A couple of centuries. That these corrections continue up into the 9th century. For 200 years, they are still correcting it over here as well. They're still connecting it.
That's not good.
That's not good, Hatun, is it? Because what does that tell you, Hatun?
The Quran is corrupted. Besides that, people intentionally change the word of Allah.
Who was changing it?
People.
Is this God changing it? Is this Muhammad changing it?
He was already dead.
He was long dead by this time.
Yeah.
He was dead in the beginning of the 7th century.
Yeah.
These are the 8th and the 9th century.
People.
They were still correcting it. They were still erasing it. They were still inserting other words. They were still covering it and taping it up until the 9th century. Standardizing it into one text. So when do you believe the Quran was finalized?
Look like it's the end of 9th century, beginning of 10th century.
Do you have a manuscript to support that?
No, but historically, 1924.
So when was the Quran finalized?
1924.
In where was it finalized?
Egypt, Cairo.
In Al-Azhar University
Yeah,
by King Fahd.
yeah.
King Fahd, is it Fahd? Is that his name? I forgot the name of the king right now.
Just a moment, just a moment.
Farouk. It's Farouk, sorry. King Farouk. It's called the Farouk manuscript. King Farouk in 1924 standardized the text. And what did he do? What did he ask his scholars to do? Because how many different Qurans were there in 1924? There were 14 different Qurans, were there not? 14 different readings, were there not?
Yeah.
And they standarded it down to one reading called the Hafs reading.
Yes.
That was done in 1924.
There's still Nafa in Morocco, and it's
There is the Warsh. There's still one that exists right across North Africa. That's another reading.
Yes.
So even as late as 1924, they still did not. They still had a problem. How long ago is 1924?
Like
90 years ago.
91 years ago.
It's 91 years ago.
Yeah.
Actually, it's less than that. It's 89 years ago. It's not even a century ago. In fact, Prince Philip, that would make him older than the Quran, wouldn't it?
Don't say that.
Prince Philip is older than the canonized Quran that we use today. Because the Quran we use today, folks, listen to this. The Quran we use today was standardized in 1924. But it doesn't come from any of these manuscripts. Every one of these manuscripts we showed you today, the top copy, it does not agree with the Quran in 2,270 different words. It is only 78% of the Quran. The Samarkand in Tashkent, that is from the early 8th century. It only goes up to Surah 43.
Yeah.
So does the Ma'il Quran. It only goes up to Surah 43. The Petropolitanist Quran in Paris, that only is 26% of the Quran. The Sana manuscript has pages that have 60 to 70 years between them. and it has thousands of manuscript variants. Now let's stop and let's go to the Sana manuscript. Because folks, the Sana manuscript has now been dated as well. The Sana manuscript was sent to Lyon Laboratory in France, and it was sent to Arizona in the United States. Two of the foremost laboratories for carbon dating 14. And using accelerated mass spectrography, which is the best form, it is the most exact form of dating not writing, but dating the manuscript. They date the parchment, they date the skin of the animal, and they date the skin when the animal was killed. So the dates that we have are when the animal was killed.
That's 543 to 643?
543 to 643. The median date would be 593. So the median date for one folio is 593. But another folio was the median date is 516. Within the same manuscript, you have two folios that have over almost, in this case, almost 80 years between them.
So that's like approximately a century before Muhammad received his revelation?
That would be an entire century before Muhammad even began to receive his revelation. What does that prove, folks? It proves that the Quran is nothing more than borrowed text from many different sources. Parts from the Bible, but most of it from Jewish apocryphal writings and Christian sectarian writings. Most of it written in Syriac, were they not? The Nag Hammadi Gospels.
They were.
In fact, this is well known. A German scholar, Dr. Gunther Lulling, he looked at the poetry in the Quran. Of beautiful poetry in the Quran. And many Muslims have told me that this proves it must be the miracle of Muhammad. Because how could a man who could not read or write such beautiful poetry?
Mutanabbi did it. Mutanabbi did not read or write. He was blind. And he wrote beautiful poetry.
Okay, but Muhammad could not read or write. So the fact that he wrote such beautiful poetry, they say, must be the miracle of Muhammad. Dr. Gunther Lulling noticed. He said, hold on a minute. I've seen this poetry before. This is not new. Now, Dr. Gunther Lulling from Germany is an expert in Syriac. And he went back to his Syriac writings. And he found every one of these pieces of poetry that is in the Quran can be traced back to pre-Islamic Christian hymns written in the 5th and 6th century. These were Christians that would sing these hymns in church services, written in Syriac, taken out of Syriac and put into Arabic and incorporated into the Quran, strophe by strophe by strophe. Nothing is new.
To see more videos like this, subscribe to Titans TV down below. Thanks.
The greatest darky that bite with shark teeth and hate malarkey. Who you? The greatest heartbeat, ancient Egypt as a matriarchy. Who me? The one with the S on his chest when the motherfucker go by. Who you? The one everybody calls your highness cause the weed got you feeling so high. Who me? My life is priceless, my life is righteous cause who you? Has once again made my life just like it was.